Hey, UPSC 2025 mains has started, and you have essay paper done. Essay paper is a big, shall we call it as a very simple topics, 8 of them, but then they are mind benders. UPSC never forgets to drop its bombshells. It is so used to it, and we are so used to it. They're given such a list of simple topics. बहुत ही simple topics दिए हैं, but then within those simple topics, a veneer of simplicity, we have got very deep topics are given there. I suppose today what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take you through the analysis of the topics that has been asked, 8 topics in essay which has been asked, which will be extremely crucial for those people who are planning to give this examination in times to come. You'll be able to understand in this video the nature and flavor of the topics which UPSC is asking these days, and the kind of essay that it is expecting from the minds of the people whom they are hiring for the biggest job of the country. Without wasting much time, I would like you to watch this and get a good idea about the kind of topics that is going to be there in UPSC examination. I suppose I would like to tell you that UPSC is actually, that's something which I am always curious to know and then explore and research on, is that ये ढूंढ क्या रही है? What kind of person they are looking for? If you have the topics in my hand, is that truth knows no color, the supreme art of war. I'll explain all these topics today in this video. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. What kind of topics they are looking for? UPSC is actually looking for a mind, or it wants that somebody who can really understand the topic through the critical thinking. Not that somebody who has collected lots of facts, lots of data, lots of pointers, but a person who understands the things in totality. Like, look at this topic, truth knows no color. That's all. So much can be written around that. Look at the topic like muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Such a simple topic. But क्या कुछ नहीं लिखा जा सकता इसमें? I would like to explain that to you. The critical mind is what UPSC is actually interested in looking for. Somebody who can show the maturity of understanding, not just a long collection of data and facts and events and names and places, but somebody who has a critical thought, who has a critical thinking ability. And then in their character, there is a maturity of understanding. That's what I understand UPSC is looking forward to. And then these topics, like simple topics, I just read 2 of them. The simple topics, how you interpret them, what are dimensions that you're opening, that will determine that how deep you are in your thought process. What is the faculties of minds evolved through the critical understanding? And that's something which is what I would imagine that you would be looking at. I suppose in this set of topics that we have got, since they're abstract, since they are metaphorical, there's a beautiful combination of philosophical and abstract topic that we have got that sparks your critical thinking. And then as much you are able to provide interconnectivity in these topics, I'm sure better you are likely to be in your essay as you're writing. So there's a lot of essay which is happening here in the kind of topics that we have got. Another thing which I like to observe before I take you deeper into each topic and talk about it, the lines are very thought-provoking. And while it is thought-provoking, there cannot be just single line of valid essay that you can imagine. There can be multiple ways that you can interpret or play around the same topic that you have got here. And then, in other words, in simple words, I can say there's more than one interpretation is possible. But important thing, the quotes are very definitive. They're not like question marks and those things. Truth knows no color. Straight, simple. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Straight. Thought finds a word and creates one also. Definitive. All these topics that you've got, it is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. Very, very definitive quotes that we have got. And how you actually are able to interpret them, that will guide you the kind of a score that you're looking forward to. In fact, here, if I can take you through each topic and give you a very brief interpretation to get an idea as to kind of topics that we have got and how you could have possibly interpreted. As you are preparing for this examination, it is right time that you get used to these kind of topics. It has been a trend now that more of abstract philosophical topics are dominating because UPSC interested not in somebody who's a walking encyclopedia, but UPSC is interested in a person who can think in multidimensionality and you can think beyond the obvious. All right, let us take up the first topic. The truth knows no color. I suppose there are so many dimensions that we can look into that. The truth knows no color can be assumed as, I would say, universality of the truth. That one way you can look at. Ekam sat, vipra bahuda vadanti. I mean, wise men may call it by different name. Ekam sat, universality that we have got. In fact, it can be traceable to Plato's ideas. I'm not going to go into deeper interpretation, but I'm giving you the flavor of the topic. The Plato's theory of form that we have got. And the color here is a flawed perception. That's what that you have got. I mean, the concept of Satya of Mahatma Gandhi that he has used, and then he finds that the truth cuts through all possible prejudices that we have got. And then I suppose the various flavors of the truth, like objective truth, moral truth, ethical truth, social truth, or whatever political truth, all this that we have got, they're all superficial in nature. Color is a metaphor here. And then, in fact, I would also like to connect this topic to principle of Advaita Vedanta, the doctrines of Brahman, the truth that we have got, and Maya, the color, the illusion that you have got here. These are like on metaphorical angle that we have got, and truth knows no color. That is the universality of the truth. That's what it's basically expected here. We had many topics around which we were practicing previously while we were conducting the classes, but this is how I would like you to see this topic as being interpreted. The second topic that we have got, that is the supreme art of war, is to subdue the enemy without fighting. This topic, when I saw that, I suddenly remember Sun Tzu, the art of war, that coming as the first thing in my mind. Supreme art of war and is to subdue the enemy. Basically, is having lots of diplomacy being discussed these days in the country. So it has got to connect with the aspects of diplomacy. And then I suppose it talks about victory through not only by fighting, but making somebody believe that, hey, I mean, somebody has won over me. But there's an inner thing that I like to see. It doesn't talk about the war in the classical sense of the term. It talks also about the enemy that is within us. That can be an interesting way to look at it. In fact, I would like you to see the Sun Tzu's art of war. It has got the aspects of geopolitics, diplomacy, and then art of war in personal life, professional life that can also be taken. And then this is again having some Gandhian philosophy of nonviolence. It's a very, very definitive topic. Supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy. In fact, I can also bring in Chanakya here. I mean, you can see that Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed. At least three of them. That is, we have got, except Danda, Sam, Dam, and Bhed. They're all three which are very much connected with this topic. I suppose this topic of non-violence, topic of the war happening in the world, and also the idea of dominance that one has got is not only in the battlefield but elsewhere, and that is the supreme art of war, that is to subdue the enemy. That's what we have got here. So you can bring so many dimensions to that. I'm not going very detailed here. Let me just give you a flavor of all these topics and you get a clear idea. I would like you to watch it full and then see as to how the flavor of the essay can be built around this. Third topic, that is thought finds a world, and thought finds a world and creates one also. Thought finds a world and creates one also. I think this, when I was reading this topic, Jean-Paul Sartre was there in my mind. Existence precedes essence. That's the philosophy that we have got. Thought finds a world and creates one also. Thought is not passive. Thought is not passive. That's what basically this topic is about. And thought is creative. Mind is creative that we have got. This topic is also touching upon, shall we say, meta thought. And this is a very, very abstract topic which talks about that how abstract creates, like, I mean, you can see in technology, a theorem that you have got written on the piece of paper can possibly launch a satellite in the sky. I mean, the thought, how it actually gets into action. It can also be seen in fictional interpretation. Somebody in literature writing a fiction, and then from there it can possibly make the reader go into a thought process of its own. It can also be a doctrine, it can also be a philosophy, it can also be anything of that nature, which basically creates movements, revolutions. So thought finds a world and creates one also. I mean, I think that's the beautiful approach. I think I can also connect to an Indian philosophy of yatha drishti tatha srishti. Whatever there in your mind, I mean, that is what basically creates. In fact, Kabir, I was looking at these topics today, and then repeatedly Kabir was coming into my mind. Man ke hare, har hai man ke mare, man ke mare. I mean, I think the ideas of man that Kabir talks about also is very much is in that process of thought that we have got. All right, since we have to really understand in a brief set of things. Of course, we will have some detailed versions later. But let me take you to the fourth one. The best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. Best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. Don't you see, this also is a very definitive topic. This is it, this is it. And that is basically coming from Indian folk tradition. Best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. I mean, quite often you must have been told about this while you were growing up. This is also part of a Stoic philosophy, can we say? And then, I mean, I suppose here one can take historical reference. Uh, I think it can be taken into contemporary times also. Also, the personal take can be had. And interesting thing is that best and bitter they have brought. And then that interpretation is something which is, in fact, very unique here. In fact, the what's that? Nietzsche's ideas, amor fati concept, hardship leads to the greatest good that can be possibly taken. In fact, I'm also reminded of a favorite book of mine which I read, Nassim K. Talib, Anti-Fragile. That also is basically best lessons are learned through the bitter experiences. In fact, one can, another favorite book of mine, Angela Duckworth, the Grit. The book is Grit. I'm forgetting the total full title of that. But the Grit is one topic which basically talks about best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. The grit that allows you to have your passion uh, fueled by perseverance, perseverance fueling passion, you stick around and then you get the best lessons. I think a lot of dimensions that can be taken up here. I've been instructed to keep this short and then let me just take you further into this. The next topic that we have got in section B, we have got the fifth topic is muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. I mean, this is a beautiful thought of crisis management. And on the surface of it, it looks like counterintuitive, isn't it? Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. I mean, it's counterintuitive because it is uh, advising of action of inaction. And I think it goes very much close to the Buddhist philosophies of sthirata and shanti. And that's what we can see. Patience and solutions are very much part and parcel of each other. It is also influenced by Taoism. If you have read about Taoism, you understand that. But then this muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone concept can be taken at the personal level. You can write an essay exploring the social level, psychological level, policy level. In fact, Adam Smith, the idea of laissez-faire goes so much close to this line. Laissez-faire, leave it alone. And then we can possibly see so many dimensions of this topic coming up when you have got even this yoga's doctrine of pratyahara can be also taken up as part of it. I suppose there are so many dimensions. Lao WOWE, yeah, that's what it is. WOWEI, WOWE, effortless action. I mean, that's effortless action, leaving it alone on its own. That's something which is what can also be interpreted. And then this is a beautiful topic to write essay on. Then the next one that we have got, the sixth one, is the ears teach much, which the days never. The ears teach much, which the days never know. I think this is another very interesting topic. It is about experience and wisdom of time. It is a topic which deals with immediacy versus the long term that we have got. And then it, it, it talks about wisdom of pattern. I mean, that's something which we have got. In fact, this also goes close to Kabira's ideas. Dhire dhire re mana, dhire sab kuch hoye. I think that's something which is very much close to it. And it basically talks about the importance of patience. And then in the Western philosophy, the idea of historicism, I mean, that can be seen in this topic. I mean, it is not that on the event, but on the issue, on the longer time frame that we have got the things need to be understood. An event need not be understood as it happens. The event has to be understood in the context it happened. And that's what that we have got, where it talks about the wisdom that you have got, which is a very long drawn process through which you acquire and then actually proceed further. The next topic that we have got, the seventh topic, is I feel like talking so much about each topic. Of course, at some other stage, we'll discuss that. It is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. It is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. In fact, the two things came to my mind when I looked at this topic. The first thing that came to my mind is the book that I have got in my collection is that Happiness of Pursuit. I mean, I think not pursuit of happiness, happiness of pursuit. And the second thing which came to my mind, flashing right after reading this topic, is that the song of Anand Bakshi, I think Anand Bakshi only, Zindagi Ek Safar Hai Suhana. I think it looks so much simple topic on the surface, but then when you go on exploring, you can open layers and layers and layers and layers out of this. This philosophy of karma yoga, I mean, that's something which is we have got. Karma yoga, karma is the journey, and destination is the phal. So the best to see life as a journey, not as a destination, is that you have got control over your karma, not on the phal that we have got. In fact, it's a very common philosophy on the surface of it. It is very highly used topic, and it can be treated at personal level, social level, at psychological level, and you have to go beyond the cliche it has got. Uh, the life as a journey is a very cliche that we have got, and then it is basically, if I can possibly imagine it correct, life is a journey. Ralph Emerson is probably the first person who can be identified to have written about it, but then so many people have contributed. It gets very confusing as to who finally initially said this. Irrespective, I'm not into that. It's not always essential that you go to the epistemological or etymological. You understand the idea and then you give a flavor of your own. And that's something which is what is required. The last topic that we have got is the eighth topic, is contentment is natural wealth. Contentment is natural wealth. Luxury is artificial poverty. This is again a beautiful topic which may go to Mahatma Gandhi also. This is heavily inspired by Sufi tradition, Stoic philosophy, uh, Jain philosophy of aparigraha, Santosh Param Sukham. I mean, that philosophy is also that we have got contentment. A lot of people can find it a little debatable, but then I can also connect it with Epicurean philosophy. Epicurean philosophy is not merely dealing with the pleasure, but also it talks about the happiness one can imagine. So this topic it touches upon, in fact, three things: philosophy, psychology, and economics. On that conference, this topic is there. And then it is heavily subscribed by the modern economists. I think it challenges the notion of poverty and wealth in the traditional manner. And that is the containment is natural wealth, luxury is artificial poverty. How one actually goes about seeing multiple examples can be taken from the country level, from the individual level, from the personal level, and then it can really, really be written as a beautiful essay. A lot of you must have written there if you're watching it. I suppose this could be one of those topics which can be flawed in so many dimensions. Now, if I look into that essay of this year, 2025, one thing which comes to my mind is that you just do not simply practice writing, you should also practice thinking. Please learn this carefully. It is very, very important that you actually hone your intellectual skill of interpretation, because UPSC is interested in your intellectual maturity, and that will come with more and more practice. So I think they do not want, as I told you earlier, a walking encyclopedia who has got lots of information, but then it wants a person who has the dual skill of interpreting and expression. So interpretation and expression is the skill that is basically required for the kind of topics which has been coming in this area. And then, because these topics, I would not imagine that can be searched in books. They are already existing in your mind. Only thing is that you should be conscious enough to not only practice them for expression, practice them for interpretation. And that's all for the moment. Hope this video, which is where I have analyzed the topic of this year, has helped you understand the kind of expectation UPSC is having these days and the kind of dimensions through which we can interpret these topics. Of course, there can be multiple more dimensions, which some of you may have written today, or some of you may have planned in your mind to write essay on. They would be definitely available in the detailed versions. For now, that's all from me. It's lovely talking to you, and thank you for your patience. All the best.